Sarah Everett was born in June 1987 to parents Sue and Jeremy Everett. She was the youngest of three siblings, with an older sister named Katie and a brother named James. In 2005, Sarah enrolled at Durham University, where she completed her studies and graduated in 2008. Following her graduation, she relocated to London and secured a position in marketing. At the time of the incident, Sarah resided in the Brixton Hill area and worked as a marketing executive for a digital media agency. Described as a woman of considerable intellect, Sarah was also known for her supportive nature. Her friend Rose, who had known her since their university days, attested to Sarah's unwavering support during difficult times, including when Rose lost her mother. In early 2021, Sarah, like many others, faced the challenges brought on by the pandemic. The lockdowns created a sense of uncertainty that weighed heavily on everyone, including her. On March 3, 2021, Sarah, weary of being confined at home and working remotely, felt a surge of excitement when Rose proposed a visit at her residence on Loo Road, near Clapham Junction. After preparing, Sarah set out to meet her friend for a long-awaited catch-up. Following their meeting, Sarah departed from Rose's home around 9:00 p.m. and was captured on CCTV at Broward Road Junction. Phone records indicated that she was conversing with her boyfriend, Josh, making plans for the following day. This call lasted approximately 15 minutes, and at 9:28 p.m., she was recorded on a doorbell camera on Pointers Road. 4 minutes later, a police dashcam captured her walking down the same road towards her home. However, the next morning, when Josh attempted to contact Sarah, she did not answer her phone. The situation was peculiar, as plans had been made for an imminent meeting. When Sarah failed to arrive at the agreed time, Josh became increasingly anxious. His concern deepened when Sarah also missed a virtual work meeting, leading to a sense of unease. After 8:00 p.m. on March 4th, with no response to his calls, Josh reported his 33-year-old girlfriend is missing. An immediate investigation was initiated, during which the police reviewed surveillance footage near her residence. The cameras positioned along Sarah's street revealed no indication of her presence, heightening fears that something was gravely amiss, as it suggested she had not returned home. Sarah's family traveled to London to distribute posters in hopes of uncovering clues regarding her disappearance. Known for her stability, Sarah's behavior had not raised any alarms. According to Rose, she appeared to be in good spirits, particularly given the challenging circumstances of the lockdown. Investigators noted that the route she typically took was somewhat isolated, yet it was a path Sarah frequently traversed, as she was an active individual who preferred walking over taking a taxi. The journey from Rose's home to hers took approximately 50 minutes, and despite lockdown restrictions, Sarah felt secure enough to walk home. The detectives found themselves at an impasse, lacking any leads on Sarah's whereabouts until a crucial piece of evidence emerged. A bus's CCTV camera captured Sarah on Pointers Road, accompanied by a man. Additionally, a white vehicle was observed parked on the roadside with its hazard lights activated, and another car's dashcam recorded the same vehicle at 9:38 p.m. The situation took a turn when both car doors were found ajar, providing a crucial lead for the police. They needed to locate the man associated with the white car swiftly, as he was evidently the last individual to have been in contact with Sarah. While the detectives were pursuing this lead, they received information from a car rental agency in Dover, Kent, nearly a 2-hour drive from London. The white Vauxhall Crossland had been rented by a man named Wayne Cousins. However, Wayne was not an ordinary individual renting a vehicle for leisure. He was an active officer with the Metropolitan Police. This raised questions about why he was now being sought as a suspect in a homicide investigation. What was the nature of his interaction with Sarah that day? Was she in danger, and what had become of her? To unravel this, it is essential to understand Wayne's background. Born in 1972, Wayne Cousins initially worked as a mechanic in his family's garage before enlisting in the Territorial Army as a private. Over the years, he attempted to join the police force on 3 occasions but was unsuccessful each time. Ultimately, in June 2006, he was accepted into the Kent Police after being discharged from the Army due to failure to meet training requirements. It is perplexing how he managed to join the police force despite this background. By 2020, several years later, he had transitioned to a different location and department, where he was responsible for overseeing the Parliamentary and Diplomatic Protection Branch, which involved safeguarding government properties in the UK. Notably, it was alarming that Wayne had not undergone the rigorous vetting process typically required at that time. Wayne's recruitment process was fraught with issues, culminating in the fact that he failed to complete the mandatory 2-year probationary period required for joining the Metropolitan Police Force. This clearly indicated his lack of experience and training, suggesting he was ill-suited for a career in law enforcement. At 43 years old and a father of 2, Wayne faced additional pressures associated with police work. On the night of March 3 RD, questions arose regarding Wayne's actions and the circumstances surrounding Sarah's encounter with a police officer. The police sought answers from Wayne, leading to his arrest on suspicion of kidnapping Sarah. Initially, Wayne claimed not to recognize her, but after a brief period of feigned ignorance, he concocted a narrative involving a gang that allegedly coerced him into kidnapping Sarah in exchange for money, citing financial difficulties and threats to his family if he did not comply. This story raised the police's suspicions further, resulting in the escalation of charges against Wayne to murder, despite Sarah's whereabouts being unknown at that time. The shift in charges was influenced by Wayne's activities on the night of March 3 RD. He had left London shortly after Sarah's disappearance and returned his rental car at 8:30 a.m. on March 4 th. On the morning of the same day, the meticulous nature of his plan became evident. He had rented the car solely for the duration necessary for Sarah to go missing, and shortly after her disappearance was reported, the vehicle was returned. The timing was indeed remarkable. However, March 10 th marked the conclusion of the search for Sarah, though not in the anticipated manner. Instead of a joyful reunion, the outcome was tragically different. The discovery was devastating for the Everard family and the entire nation. The police conducted a search in Hodes Wood, an area near Ashford where Wayne coincidentally owned land. Just 10 yards from his property, investigators found a large bag submerged in a shallow pond, which contained human remains. 2 days later, on March 12 th, the remains were identified through dental records as belonging to 33-year-old Sarah Everard. An autopsy performed at William Harvey Hospital revealed that her cause of death was neck compression, likely caused by a police belt, and there were indications that she may have been sexually assaulted. The events of that evening were horrific, and through phone activity, CCTV footage, and location data, the police were able to reconstruct a timeline of the occurrences on the night of March 3 RD, shortly after Wayne had completed his 12-hour shift at 7:00 a.m. On March 3 RD, he was observed collecting the white Vauxhall Crossland from the rental agency at 4:45 p.m. Between 8:00 p.m. and 9:23 p.m. Wayne was seen at a Tesco in West London purchasing a pack of hair ties. Subsequently, at 9:34 p.m., he was spotted on Pointer Road. The bus CCTV footage captured Sarah and Wayne engaged in conversation, suggesting that an off-duty Wayne encountered Sarah while she was walking along the road. He displayed his badge, proceeded to handcuff her, and placed her into the white vehicle. Sarah, under the impression that she was being apprehended by a legitimate police officer, did not resist, believing she was in trouble for violating lockdown regulations. She likely anticipated being taken to a nearby police station. However, Wayne had ulterior motives. After securing Sarah in the vehicle, which was not an official police car, he drove to Kent and subsequently transferred her to his personal vehicle. On March 4 th, between 11:53 a.m. and 12:57 p.m. Wayne's phone registered a signal in Shepherd's Well. This location and timeframe are believed to be when Wayne likely disclosed his nefarious intentions and began to exploit Sarah. It is difficult to fathom the distress Sarah must have experienced. The entire ordeal is profoundly troubling, especially considering it was perpetrated by someone in a position of authority. Following the incident, at 2:34 a.m., the situation took a further dark turn. Wayne was observed purchasing beverages at a gas station, and it is believed that he subsequently strangled Sarah with his police belt, resulting in her tragic death, which appears utterly senseless. Having achieved his objective, one would expect him to release her, yet he did not. Wayne was later captured on CCTV between 3:22 a.m. and 6:32 a.m. in Ashford, after which he returned the vehicle to the rental company at 8:26 a.m. on March 4 th, having driven over 300 miles. He then entered his personal vehicle, and at 9:21 a.m., it is suspected that he disposed of Sarah's phone by throwing it into a waterway in Sandwich, coinciding with the moment her phone became unreachable and her boyfriend's calls went unanswered. On March 5th, Wayne was seen at a BP gas station in Whitefield purchasing a can of gasoline before returning to Ashford at 12:37 p.m., where he incinerated Sarah's body inside a refrigerator. However, his actions did not cease there. At 1:47 p.m., he was observed buying large plastic bags. 2 days later, on March 7th, he returned to Ashford to dispose of Sarah's remains in a pond. The large bags he purchased matched those found at the location where Sarah's remains were discovered. Interestingly, around this time, Wayne informed his colleagues that he was feeling stressed and no longer wished to carry a firearm. On March 7th, he took a leave of absence from work, citing illness, but upon his return, he surrendered his police equipment, including his belt and handcuffs. At that moment, no one realized that these were the very items he had used to subdue and ultimately kill Sarah. A police officer, a man sworn to protect civilians, turned out to be a murderer. The question remains, what was Wayne's motive? Did he have any prior connection to Sarah, or was this merely a tragic incident of her crossing paths with him? Numerous shocking revelations emerged regarding Wayne during the court proceedings. Upon his arrest at his residence in Deal, it was discovered that he had deleted all data from his phone just 40 minutes before the police arrived. Following his second arrest on March 11th, Wayne was hospitalized twice due to self-inflicted head injuries, the reasons for which remain unclear and troubling. By March 12th, he faced charges of kidnapping and murder, and the following day, he appeared at Westminster Magistrates' Court, subsequently being remanded at Belmarsh Prison. As the investigation unfolded, disturbing details about Wayne's violent and inappropriate history came to light. He had previously been charged with 4 counts of indecent exposure, one occurring just days before the attack on Sarah. Additionally, in 2018, he had assaulted a drag performer in a pub. It was also revealed that Wayne, along with 2 colleagues, Jonathan Coben and Joel Borders, had exchanged highly inappropriate, racist, misogynistic, and homophobic messages in a WhatsApp group, casting further suspicion on his behavior towards the drag performer. Moreover, media personnel were not exempt from Wayne's violent tendencies. Emma B., a radio presenter for BBC Radio and Heart 106.2, recounted her own encounter with Wayne, which involved him indecently exposing himself to her in a dark alley in Greenwich in 2008, nearly 13 years before the attack on Sarah. She reported her attempts to inform the authorities about Wayne, but when she arrived at the police station, the officers mocked her and dismissed her concerns. In addition to Wayne's history of inappropriate conduct, he was known among his colleagues by a nickname that I cannot disclose here, which he earned due to the discomfort he caused women. His co-workers, including police officers, participated in this behavior and even contributed to the playful nickname. It is alarming to consider that this individual, recognized as a predator, operated within the local police force, and not a single officer took action. They merely laughed it off and perpetuated the absurd nickname. With these revelations now public, Wayne's true nature was exposed. On June 8, 2021, he pleaded guilty to the assault and murder of Sarah. Wayne admitted that the murder was entirely random and that he had no prior acquaintance with Sarah, which adds to the horror of the situation. The notion that Wayne, a police officer who should be perceived as a protector, was actively seeking a victim to unleash his violent tendencies upon is unfathomable. Wayne's sentencing took place on September 29, 2021. Despite the efforts of his defense attorney, Jim Sturman QC, to convince Lord Justice Fulford to impose a life sentence with the possibility of parole, Wayne was ultimately sentenced to life imprisonment with a whole life order. This type of sentence represents the most severe criminal penalty available in the UK, indicating that the offender will spend the remainder of their life in prison. Individuals confined within the prison system now face a complete lack of opportunity for release, ensuring they will never experience life outside of incarceration again. Notably, Wayne Couzens became the first individual in history to receive a life sentence with a whole life order for the singular murder of a civilian. This underscores the judiciary's determination to remove this serial offender from society. In October 2022, Wayne attempted to appeal his conviction. However, the Court of Appeals denied his request. In April 2023, it was revealed that Wayne was still eligible for a police pension amounting to £7,000 annually, but the Mayor of London swiftly intervened to terminate this entitlement. Despite this, there remains a possibility that he could retain his pension benefits, although this may also be revoked in the future. Additionally, it is important to recall that Wayne's colleagues, Joel and Jonathan, were also imprisoned for disseminating offensive messages via WhatsApp, receiving appropriate consequences for their actions. In the wake of the tragic loss of Sarah Everard, there was a significant surge of anger among both men and women, not only within the UK but also internationally. This discontent extended beyond the general public, affecting women employed in governmental roles who began to lose faith in the police force. The case of Sarah Everard and the subsequent actions of the UK police prompted numerous public demonstrations, highlighting perceived incompetence and abuse of authority. A notable example was the vigil held for Sarah at Clapham Common on March 13, 2021, which drew hundreds of attendees, including Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, and was adorned with flowers in her memory. Large groups of individuals congregated in the park to express their support and love for Sarah's family. They gathered to hear speeches from the sisters of a British feminist group, but the atmosphere shifted dramatically when the event, initially peaceful, descended into chaos. Police flooded the area, resulting in 4 arrests for violating lockdown regulations. The disturbance caused police to trample the flowers placed in memory of Sarah, leading to the subduing and handcuffing of attendees, while several officers faced assaults. The scene was chaotic and disordered. On September 14, 2023, 2 years after the incident, the Metropolitan Police issued an apology and compensated significantly for the damages incurred that night. Vigils were held across London and in cities such as Birmingham, Bristol, Cardiff, Edinburgh, Leeds, Nottingham, Liverpool, and Sheffield. Following Sarah's tragic death, public scrutiny intensified towards the police, who faced criticism not only for their violent response at the vigil but also for their failure to prevent her death. Despite the extensive list of charges and misconduct against Wayne being revealed, the Metropolitan Police continued to propose ineffective solutions to prevent similar crimes. It is perplexing that officials suggested women should simply remain indoors after dark and, in the event of being approached by a police officer, they should call for help. Such recommendations reflect a troubling lack of awareness and understanding of the issues at hand. There were insinuations suggesting that it was a woman's responsibility to remain vigilant and safeguard herself during the night, as if we were still in the 1700s. This perspective emerged in light of the fact that individuals posing as police officers were now posing a threat. Essentially, officials conveyed a lack of interest in reforming the vetting process for new officers, instead advising women to remain alert. They implied that in the event of another tragedy, they might respond, perhaps by calling for assistance, but without any commitment to addressing the underlying issues of crime and safety. In October 2021, Fire and Crime Commissioner Philip Allott resigned following a vote of no confidence after he suggested that women should become streetwise and understand the circumstances under which they could be arrested. It seems appropriate to conclude this narrative, as the absurdity of the situation is overwhelming. Although this incident occurred a few years ago, I only became aware of it recently, having distanced myself from the news during the pandemic due to its overwhelming nature. Despite Wayne Couzens now being incarcerated and the police attempting to rectify their previous failures, one cannot help but reflect on the tragic loss of Sarah Everard, who was killed simply for walking home alone one evening. She committed no offense and was in a relatively safe area. A woman should never have to fear walking alone at night any more than a man does. While it is true that navigating a city after dark poses risks for everyone, the response from the police force in this instance has been profoundly inadequate. The dismissive attitude exhibited towards the fact that a woman was attacked is utterly incomprehensible, suggesting that those who hold such views may require psychological evaluation. Sarah believed she was in a secure environment, protected by the presence of a police officer, and justifiably so. However, the individual she expected to provide her with a mere reprimand for breaching lockdown regulations revealed himself to be a perpetrator of heinous acts. What troubles me most about incidents like this is the apparent tendency among many officials to merely address the symptoms of a broader issue, rather than tackling the root causes. Advising individuals to avoid going out at night or to refrain from seeking help is not a viable solution. The appropriate course of action involves addressing the underlying problems, enhancing police visibility where feasible, dismissing any officer who has not undergone thorough vetting during the recruitment process, and implementing stricter criteria for police force membership. While I do not claim that these measures will resolve every issue, they represent a necessary initial step towards progress. It is unjust to place the blame on those who are already the most vulnerable to criminal acts. My heart goes out to Sarah's family, as it appears she lost her life in vain, truly for nothing. Since that tragic event, there has been little to no advancement, and there seem to be no forthcoming plans for meaningful change.